Some love stories make your heart race, others stay with you long after the screen fades to black. These aren't romances about perfect timing or happy endings. They're about moments that mattered, people who changed us, and feelings that never truly disappeared. The dramas you're about to revisit didn't promise forever. They promised honesty. And sometimes, that hurts more beautifully than any fairy tale ever could. This is a collection of love stories that didn't shout, "I love you," but proved it in silence. Marry My Husband, Love That Wasn't Given. It was reclaimed. Marry My Husband doesn't begin with romance. It begins with betrayal, a woman dying, a husband cheating, a best friend stealing everything she trusted. Kang Ji-won's life ends in the most humiliating way imaginable. And then, impossibly, she wakes up 10 years earlier. But this isn't a fantasy about revenge fulfillment. It's a story about reclaiming agency. Ji-won doesn't go back to fix love. She goes back to fix herself. She learns to say no. She learns to walk away. She learns that kindness without boundaries becomes self-destruction. And then, quietly, love appears, not as obsession, not as rescue, but as recognition. A man who doesn't ask her to endure, a man who doesn't benefit from her sacrifice, a man who sees her worth before she has to prove it. What makes Marry My Husband resonate is this truth. Sometimes love doesn't arrive to save you from pain. It arrives after you finally choose yourself. This drama isn't about getting revenge. It's about refusing to repeat the same life. And that makes the romance earned, healing, and deeply satisfying. Queen of Tears, a love that stayed after everything cracked. Queen of Tears isn't about falling in love. It's about what happens after misunderstandings, after resentment, after words that can't be taken back. This is a marriage already broken. Two people who once loved fiercely, now standing on opposite sides of emotional exhaustion. What makes this drama extraordinary is its patience. It doesn't rush healing. It lets silence linger. It allows pain to exist without immediately offering comfort. The characters don't ask, "Do we love each other?" They ask something harder. "Do we still choose each other?" Every episode peels back layers of pride, fear, and regret, revealing that love didn't disappear. It was buried under years of unspoken hurt. Queen of Tears resonates because it reflects a truth many romances avoid. Sometimes love doesn't leave. It waits for honesty, waits for courage, waits for someone to finally say, "I'm scared too." This is not a fantasy of perfect love. It's a portrait of mature love, fragile, stubborn, and deeply human. And that's why it hurts so beautifully. Dr. Slump, a love that didn't fix you, but didn't leave you. Either Dr. Slump is a romance for adults who are tired of pretending they're okay. These aren't characters chasing ambition or destiny, they're characters recovering from collapse. Once at the top of their fields, both leads fall hard, professionally, emotionally, mentally. Burnout doesn't arrive loudly here. It settles quietly until everything feels heavy. Their romance doesn't begin with attraction, it begins with understanding. They don't ask, "What do you want to be?" They ask, "Are you surviving today?" Love in Dr. Slump is not about inspiration. It's about permission. Permission to rest, permission to fail, permission to exist without proving your worth. What makes this drama resonate so deeply is its honesty. Love doesn't cure depression. Love doesn't magically erase trauma, but it can sit beside you in silence, and that can be enough to keep going. Dr. Slump reminds us that romance doesn't have to be dramatic to be life-changing. Sometimes the most powerful love story is simply two people choosing not to give up, together. The Genie, Make-A-Wish. A love that knew its ending, and loved anyway. The Genie, Make-A-Wish may look like a fantasy, but at its core, it is one of the loneliest love stories in recent K-drama history. Susie's character is not a woman chasing miracles. She is a woman worn down by life, by emotional fatigue, by expectations, by the quiet disappointment of waking up every day and feeling nothing change. And then there is the Genie, a being who has existed for centuries, granting wishes for others, yet never allowed to want anything for himself. Their relationship grows in the space between what can be said and what must never be asked. Every moment they share carries weight, because both of them know time is borrowed. The Genie understands human happiness better than any human ever could. And that knowledge is his curse. What makes this drama devastating isn't the fantasy rules. It's the restraint. No dramatic declarations, no reckless choices, just two souls slowly realizing that love doesn't always come to stay. Sometimes it comes to remind you that you are still capable of feeling. This drama asks a painful question. If you knew love would end, would you still choose it? One spring night, when love asked for courage, not passion. One spring night wasn't loud romance. It was restrained, mature, and quietly brave. This was a story about timing that didn't align with expectations. A woman trapped in a long, empty relationship. A single father who knew society would never choose him first. Their connection didn't explode. It unfolded through honest conversations, through hesitation, through fear of disappointing everyone else. This drama didn't romanticize cheating or rebellion. It asked harder questions. What if staying is the real betrayal? What if choosing happiness requires disappointing others? One spring night showed us love that demands courage, not fireworks. And sometimes, choosing love means choosing yourself for the first time. Reply 1988, love that lived in everyday moments. Reply 1988 wasn't about romance. And that's why its love story hurt the most. This drama didn't chase dramatic confessions or perfect timing. It lived in alleyways, shared meals, late-night snacks, parents calling their kids home. Love existed quietly, in the boy who never said anything, in the girl who never realized what she had. Reply 1988 showed us first love, not as destiny, but as something fragile, uncertain, and often missed. Some people loved louder, some loved longer, some loved too late. And that's life. What made this drama unforgettable wasn't who ended up together, but how deeply we felt every almost. Reply 1988 didn't just remind us of love, it reminded us of youth, and of the painful truth that growing up often means realizing who loved you after it's already too late. Our beloved summer, love that never really let go. Some breakups don't end love, they just pause it. Our beloved summer was about two people who broke up, not because they stopped loving each other, but because they didn't know how to love yet. Choi Wong loved quietly. He avoided conflict. He hid behind distance. Kook Yeon-soo loved fiercely. She demanded clarity. She wanted reassurance. And when those two styles collided, they fell apart. Years later, life forced them back together, not as lovers, but as adults carrying unfinished emotions. This drama wasn't about dramatic twists. It was about conversations that came too late, words swallowed by pride, feelings misunderstood by youth. Our beloved summer showed us something rare. Love doesn't disappear just because people separate. Sometimes it waits until both people are finally ready to understand each other. This wasn't a story about getting back together. It was a story about growing up and realizing that love feels different when you finally know who you are. It's okay to not be okay love between broken souls who never learned how to be loved. This wasn't a fairy tale romance. It was a collision. A woman who weaponized pain. A man who learned to survive by suppressing his own. Two people who didn't know how to love because no one ever taught them. Ko Moon-young was loud, sharp, unapologetically damaged. She didn't ask for acceptance. She demanded it. Moon Gang-tae lived the opposite life, quiet, restrained, endlessly sacrificing himself for others, especially for his brother, especially at the cost of his own happiness. Their love wasn't gentle. It was chaotic, uncomfortable, and sometimes frightening, but slowly, painfully. They learned something together. That love isn't about fixing each other. It's about standing beside someone while they face their darkness. This drama didn't tell us love heals everything. It told us healing is messy, nonlinear, and sometimes selfish. It's okay to not be okay wasn't romantic because it was beautiful. It was romantic because it was honest. Because it said something many of us needed to hear. You don't have to be okay to be loved. My Mister, a love story that never said, I love you. My Mister isn't a romance you recommend lightly because it doesn't give you butterflies, it gives you weight. This is a story about two broken people, not falling in love, but finding each other in the quiet ruins of their lives. Jian had nothing. No safety, no warmth, only survival. Dong-hoon had everything he was supposed to want, yet felt empty, trapped, invisible. Their connection wasn't romantic in the traditional sense. It was human, deep, unspoken. They didn't save each other with kisses. They saved each other with understanding, with silence that didn't judge, with presence that didn't demand. My Mister taught us something rare. Love doesn't always arrive as passion. Sometimes it arrives as relief, relief that someone finally sees you and doesn't turn away. This drama doesn't end with fireworks, it ends with healing. And long after it's over, you realize something quietly devastating. My Mister didn't just tell a story, it changed the way you understand love. 2521. A love that was never meant to last, only to matter. Some loves don't survive time, but they survive memory. 2521 wasn't about forever. It was about first love. Raw, hopeful, reckless, and doomed in the most human way. Nahido loved with everything she had. Becky Jin loved while trying not to fall apart. They met at the wrong time, in a broken economy, in lives full of uncertainty. And still, they chose each other. For a while, their love was light, playful, full of dreams that felt endless. But adulthood crept in quietly, with responsibilities, distance, and choices that didn't leave room for romance. This drama didn't betray its characters, it honored them. Because not every love is meant to last forever. Some are meant to shape you, to teach you who you are, and who you will never forget. 25. 21 didn't break hearts for shock value, it broke them gently, by telling the truth, that even the most beautiful love stories don't always end the way we hope, but they still matter, in kindness, in the healing power of simply being seen. This wasn't just a romance drama, it was comfort. The kind you don't forget, because it felt like home.